Hello, LinkedIn. It's been a while since I've gone live. I think a couple of months now at this stage, but I'm joined with the last podcast episode to come out, which was a couple of months ago. I've been on a couple of months break. Tiana Madera. And welcome, Tiana. You're dialing in from LA this morning, so super early for you.
It's 7:06 in the morning. Good morning, everybody. Good morning.
That is early. And we won't keep you too long because I know that you have to head off to work now. LA traffic apparently has maybe surpassed or we've moved past the pandemic traffic.
Yeah, I have like a perfect window to slide through and get to work within 40 minutes. Yeah.
We've always spent too much time talking about the traffic then. So interestingly, in the couple of months since I have taken a break on the podcast, your episode has been one of the more popular ones. So I don't know if people are clicking in and listening to the most recent episode, but it's certainly reaching up high numbers. But also a really interesting topic, talking about like what people really want in their careers. And I know, you've had a change in your role since we last spoke as well.
Yeah, unexpectedly, but yes, I'm very happy with it. But yeah,
brilliant. Do you want to kind of do a recap on some of the points that we covered? I have my notes here in front of me in case you need any prompts, because I know it has been a couple of months.
I do remember, one of the biggest things, like I worked, I managed a team East and West Coast a few years ago it was for 4 years, and it was a big part of my career. And it taught me a lot about managing and just noticing how like limited mindset people may have. And I remember we spoke about, like if I saw someone that was struggling with being happy at work, that to remind them that it's up to them to make a shift and see opportunities. So for me, from my perspective, it was like I was hired as, kind of mid-tier, mid-low level, and I saw an opportunity and I could have gone to work and just been like, kind of, kept myself where I thought they perceived me.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
But instead I took it as a challenge, like, oh wow, I could do this and I could do that. And before you know it, you're doing more because you're putting it upon yourself. I mean, I'm also the type of person, I don't really ask too much for, how do you say? Permission. Yeah. So, but it's like we're talking about, like, I don't think you're going to get fired if you try harder. I don't think you're going to get fired if you try to really, people can tell that you're coming up with ideas.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the holistic sense of it. Like,
yeah, but I think some people are afraid that if they share their ideas, and maybe they're in that environment where if they do share their ideas, that it's going to be that they feel like they're going to be fired. And I do remember one of the kind of choice quotes, let's say, from the episode was something about that's not in my pay grade. So is this
right?
The whole attitude of, well, you're not paying me to think like that, or you're not paying me enough money to do that. But if you just shift your mindset to, if I do this work first, then they'll see the value I can bring, and then I will get to the pay grade that I would prefer to be at, or that I am capable of being at.
Right. And like, I think it's important to look at, like, don't look at yourself, right? Look at the people around you and see the energy of other people. And you could tell some people who aren't into it, like you wouldn't want them on your project, like meaning into work, excited, coming up with ideas. Like you wouldn't, at some point you would forget that they're there, versus people who come in and they're excited and they show a presence. Like that's incredibly valuable. And even the person who shows presence might be less capable than the other person. But at the end, people want to work and be a part of, this energy that the other person brings, which is excitement and ideas and collaboration. So I think it's also smart to kind of identify where you fall and who you are and what is it about yourself that that you could change or shift a little bit your mindset so that you can show up differently. Because it's all perspective too, right? Like if I started at that job thinking, again, that's all I had and that there's no room for growth and there's no opportunity. It's not like when I started, someone said, hey, if you work really hard for a year, you'll get promoted. Nobody told me that. I didn't even know what was possible. It was just a matter of like, well, let me see how far I could do this. Let me see if it was always like a little challenges of like, oh, I was able to do that. What else can I do? And just being excited of like, assume that the world is there for you to take advantage of,
Yeah.
and to create your own opportunities.
I love that. It's such a nice perspective to have. I think assume that it's there for the taking if you want it, rather than most people kind of assume that like, oh, well, I can only go X far in the organization that I'm in. I can only go so far within, there's all of these different things that are really holding us back in our careers. And kind of just bringing that new perspective, bringing that new mindset. And I love this idea of it's the energy that you bring and how you actually show up as a person to that meeting, to the project that you're working on. And while you were talking, something occurred to me, and I'm an introvert, and I won't say because of that, but I do connect with people who are introverts, and I see posts, especially I'm going to give a shout out to Aoife Lennox, because she seems to post an awful lot here on LinkedIn, and I really, really enjoy her content and the opinions that she has as well. But just in relation to that, you don't have to be an extrovert to bring that sense of energy. Like, you can have that still, like the quiet energy that you bring, like whether it's the confidence or whether it's you're just super engaged in the project that you're working on, but that comes through. Whereas if you're miserable and unhappy, then it's less likely that you are going to be successful in your career because that's the kind of the vibe that you're putting out.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, again, it's perspective. Like, we're putting ourselves in our own boxes. No boss is like really telling you who to be, unless you're in a destructive situation. Then that's up to you to figure out your way out of that. But yeah, I think in a whole, it also helps, like, whoever's listening to this who manages people, right? You kind of see, like, how is it that I like to manage people? What do I want for my team? And then you flip it to, like, that's how people probably perceive me too. Am I trying? Am I not?
Yeah.
It's, people notice little things very easily, right? When you come into a new team, they could tell who's bringing what energy, who's bringing up, like, who's working for the team versus who's working for themselves.
Yeah.
And I think that's different too, right? Like, I made sure that I was working for the brand and for the work, not like for myself.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's important.
Yeah. It's a really important distinction there as well. And I think maybe it's my perception, but there is a lot of that out there where you're just doing it for yourself and how far you can go, especially the perception of bosses. It's not always the case, but I think as a people manager, if you can put the team before your own interests, and then your own interests will kind of be realized. I don't know if I'm articulating that as well as I could, but it's similar to other things. Like, so for example, in the general working environment, if organizations put their people first rather than their profits first, the profits will naturally follow by default, and probably more profits than what they had anticipated if they were just focusing on, just the bottom line. We just need to get these sales in. The same applies that if you're a manager and you focus on the people and the team rather than your own individual success, the success of the team will breed your own success.
100%. I know we talked about so many good tips too on the episode. So everybody listen to the last episode. I remember we spoke about a lot of great things that we kind of uncovered deeper stories. I know this is just like a highlight, but yeah, I really love the things that we talked about and we covered there.
Yeah, you're so right. And like, I was a little bit disorganized with this LinkedIn Live today, but when the broadcast is finished, I will put all of the necessary links down below in the comments so that you can click straight into that episode and listen to it straight away. Tiana, I know that you need to leave, so I am going to bid you farewell. There's Karina. Hello, Karina. I'm going to bid you farewell to brave the traffic.
Thank you. And look, it's so dark out still. Well, to me, this is dark.
Yeah. Sun is starting to rise.
There's no sun in LA today. All right. Well, thank you so much. It was great having you. Good morning, everybody.
And I will stay on for a couple of more minutes. But thank you so much. If people want to connect with you, what's the best way they can do that?
So good call. Tiana Madera on LinkedIn. You'll have my link there. And then my podcast, you could find more at torchpodcast.com. It's all about personal leadership. You were a guest as well. And it was great. So I loved our episode as well. And there's a lot of really fun episodes there that we talk about anxiety and managing teams and God, I can't even think right now because I gotta go. But there's it's a lot of fun topics. Yeah, thanks for having me though.
Time on the podcast. Thanks for your time today. I'll be speaking for another couple of minutes, so we'll say goodbye to Tiana, and I will continue.
Take care.
So this is definitely a first for me, where I have said goodbye to a guest when and I stay on. So not sure how this is going to turn out, but I have a few announcements that I wanted to make. The first one is that the podcast will be returning on Friday. So kind of good timing with the live session there with Tiana. The podcast is coming back on Friday morning at 6 a.m. GMT. And my first guest is Simon Stapleton. We talk all about showing up authentically at work and what that looks like. So really, really great episode. I'm going to be doing a mix of interviews and solo episodes between now and the end of the year. I have some fantastic guests booked and lined up to record between now and the end of the year, all booked up and brilliant. Love it. The podcast trailer went out yesterday. So if you haven't had a chance to listen to that, there is an announcement in there, which I'm happy to share with you today as well. But have a listen to the podcast trailer as well. Find out more about what's coming up on the podcast in the coming months. And my announcement that I was talking about is that I have launched my new program, Imposter to Empowered. You will find more details at the website impostersyndrome.ie. And if you are brave enough, you can go straight through to the program itself. So it's impostersyndrome.ie/imposter to empowered, all one word. And I'm not going to spell that out for you, but I will put a link below so that you can click straight in there and check it out if you want to. So thank you so much for tuning in today. I'll be back with LinkedIn Lives weekly from now on, because the podcast has returned and I'm going to have my guests on and I'm going to talk about some of the things that we highlight, some of the issues that we speak about on the podcast. And if you have any ideas for a solo episode, if there's any burning questions that you have, any topics that you would like addressed, please let me know. Feel free to reach out directly to me and let me know if you have any topics. The website, again, if you want to check out the program, is impostersyndrome.ie, and that's imposter with an E. And I look forward to connecting with you again soon.